Today for Tall Tale Tuesdays, I've got two things that I want to share with you. First, I want to talk about some magicians of history and how they have impacted the world even outside of the magic community. And then I want to share with you guys a couple of my favorite magic tricks that are very storytelling based, where a story is woven into them and it's an integral part of the trick. But first off, let's talk about some of those old magicians. A lot of times when people think of magicians nowadays, they think of people that are on the stage. They think of people that are doing tricks. But that wasn't always the case. A lot of magicians through history had to find other places that they could perform or other avenues that they could entertain. And sometimes it wasn't always the right way. For example, there was a French magician by the name of Jean-Robert Houdin. And if the name sounds familiar, Houdini was actually a big fan of his and stole his name and just added an I to the end of it. But Jean-Robert Houdin was a very famous street magician in France. He worked his way up through the ranks. He would perform for all different types of people and eventually got himself a stage and was a very respected member of the community. So much so that after his retirement, he was contacted by the French government. You see, part of the French territories at that time, specifically in Algeria, were having some difficulties. There were a group of what I would call magicians, but back in that time were called the holy men or the witch doctors, that were trying to stir up a little bit of revolt against the government there, claiming that they had these mystical powers that they could use when in reality they were just doing the same kind of parlor tricks that I do or Houdin did back then. So the French government contacted Jean-Robert Houdin, and they said, please, we have to have your help. Will you go into Algeria, perform your effects, show off that you have all of this power too, and basically make those holy men be scared of us? And he said, of course, because he's a magician, he loves an audience. So Jean-Robert Houdin goes to Algeria, and first he does his entire stage show. He does his show that he has perfected over the years. Everyone loves it. Everyone is in awe of him. It goes really, really well. But then to really get at them, he brings up a volunteer, one of the strongest warriors in all of Algeria, for this next effect. And he says, I can take this strong man and just with a wave of my hand, I can remove all the strength from him. Because he had this little metal box sitting on the ground with a couple of handles on it. And he tells the strong man, come and lift up the box and show us how easy it is for you. And the strong man obliges. He comes over and he lifts up the box, and it's really nothing for somebody of his strength. So Jean-Robert Houdin gets him to set the box back down and casts incantations over the box in a very showy, very melodramatic way, waving his hands and making a big show of it in a lot of the same way that the holy men and the witch doctors are doing in Algeria. He was just getting at him a little bit. But the strongman comes back, and he grabs onto it, and he lifts as hard as he can, and nothing happens. And he strains, and he pulls. Jean-Robert is openly mocking him at this point. Like, you can't do this. You have the strength of a child. Just pull harder. And the strongman pulls and pulls and pulls, and finally screams out in pain and releases the box. And the entire crowd is in awe that this French magician has so much power and so much things that he can do. When in reality, all Jean-Robert Houdin had done was put an electromagnet underneath the box, flip that on when he wanted to lift it, and then just for a little extra, he sent an electric shock through the handles. It was not the nicest of tricks, but when the French government asked him to do something that would, in many ways, possibly stop a war, that is something that a magician, a showman, came in and made a really big impact on that culture, on that community, and possibly on the political sphere of that day and age. Now that's one time that a magician has gone completely outside the bounds of the stage, outside the bounds of performance. But there's one that's a little bit more recent, also a French magician by the name of Georges Melia. Georges Melia is the first what the term was coined, a cinemagician. The combination of the cinema and magic, a cinemagician. Back in the very late 1800s, right when video cameras started to become even possible, he attended an exhibition showing off this new technology, and he was fascinated. As a magician, he immediately recognized that this is a fantastic tool to capture and tell stories and use when to that day and age, it had kind of just been used for news, to record an event happening so that other people could also see it. It hadn't really been taken into a storytelling realm that we're so comfortable with to get today. You can go to the movies and see any type of story that you want to see, but that wasn't really the case back then. It was just another set of eyes that you could use to see something real that was happening. So George Melia, seeing this, went to these two brothers that had built this camera and begged them, please let me buy one from you. I need to do this. I need to make shows. I need to do this. And they completely declined. He is a magician. He is not worth it. There is no way that he could have any input on this whatsoever. So he built a camera himself from scratch. He studied it. He researched it. And right around the year 1900, he had a fully functioning camera. And there was one day where he was just trying to figure out and tease out the possibilities with this camera and what you could do. And he was just setting up his camera and he was just filming a street. Unbeknown to him, as his camera was working, it jammed. And for about 10-15 seconds, it didn't film. And then all of a sudden it started back again. Now, this was something that was not common in that day and age. Cameras were precision pieces of equipment, and it's possibly because he built this himself, because he didn't necessarily have the expertise that this happened. So, he didn't even know that this had happened at the time. He took the footage back, he was reviewing it at his home, and as he rigged it up to the projector, that 10 to 15 seconds caused a jump, just like you pause your camera and then start it back. So he's watching his film, and all of a sudden, where there were two people walking down a street, there's now a horse and buggy, just because the camera jumped. Where there were three people, there are now two. And George Melia had a realization that the camera could be manipulated. And that was one of the first realizations of special effects. That entire industry nowadays, where people use CGI, where you use stunt doubles, or any type of camera trickery, a lot of that groundwork was laid by the discovery of George Melia, the discovery of a magician, something that is so commonplace nowadays for all of those storytelling things. He went on to produce 400 films over the next few years of his life, and working in the cinema, he was one of the most prolific developers of that day. Now, with that said, a film back then was anywhere from 2 minutes to 30 minutes long, was a full feature-length film. But he did make 400 of these using camera effects, double exposure, and splicing footage, and so many groundbreaking innovations at that time, because he was taking his mentality of a magician and applying it to something else. And that's something that I do want to encourage you guys to do. If you have a thing that you're very good at, that you understand very, very well, it is well and good to explore that field and to explore that hobby and do amazing things in that hobby. But what happens if you try something new and you take that expertise that you have, you take those ideas that you have, you take that imagination that first one gives you and you apply it somewhere else? That's when you can have some really amazing discoveries. I've heard it said that Shakespeare shouldn't have written plays. He should have written symphonies, because his plays are like a symphony. The way that they are constructed, they have the flow of a symphony. But because he took that style and applied it, he became Shakespeare. The same way with Beethoven. There's so much drama in his music that he should have been a playwright. But instead, he took that drama and applied it to music, and he became Beethoven. If you really want to shake some things up, take those skills from one area and apply them in another one, and that's when you can really make the magic happen. A long time ago, when I was more of a poker player than a magician, I was just starting to get involved with magic. And I went to a convention, a magic convention, because they have conventions for all different types of things nowadays. And I happened on these three magicians that were debating on the best way of finding the aces. And they finally said, well, you know what, why don't you give us an eye, why don't you throw your eye over it, see what you can find as the best method for finding the aces. The first magician said that he was going to find the ace of clubs for me. This was a very, very put together, very sleek magician, he was kind of the standard magician that you expect. The second magician said that he was going to find the ace of hearts for me. He was a little bit looser. He didn't exactly look the cleanest, but you could tell that there was going to be something exciting from him. Third magician said that he was going to find the ace of diamonds for me. And this magician was the full classic monocle, like Monopoly Man mustache. This was going to be methodical, it was going to be clean, it was going to be fun. But first, obviously, if you're going to find the aces, you need to lose them. So the ace of clubs goes into the first pack. The ace of hearts goes right there. We'll drop those right there. And then the ace of diamonds and the ace of clubs into their respective sets. And of course, the magicians did a couple cuts, and then they said, okay, it is time to try to find the first ace. And the first magician said, all you have to do is you spread the cards, and when you spread the cards, you see an indicator card of some kind. And after you see an indicator card, you need to read it. This is a 7, which means that approximately 7 cards down, and he said approximately just to give himself an out in case it didn't work. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. You find the first ace. And I thought that was a really neat way to do the trick. I thought that was pretty clean. But the second magician just shook his head and said, no. That took too long. You need something quick. You need something flashy. You need to be able to just spread the cards and immediately find the ace. It's much cleaner. It's much more effective. And I thought that was pretty swell. The third magician, though, he said, okay, we've got 2 down, 2 to go. I like to draw it out a little bit. I like to give a little bit more drama to this presentation. So we're going to spell the card. And we're looking for the ace of diamonds now. So that's A-C-E, ace, O-F of, D-I-A-M-O-N-D-S, ace of diamonds. And I thought that was pretty cool too. But then the magicians handed me the deck of cards. And like I said, I'm a poker player. I was at that time and wasn't as much a magician. But they said, okay, so if these are the ways that we have, what's the easiest, what's the best? Which way can you use to find the aces? So I said, okay, I will spread and I will look for an indicator card. And there was not one. Okay, well, that way didn't work. I will spread and I will look for an ace. And, well, no, that didn't work either. Okay, I'll spell for it. And we're looking for spades now. So that's A-C-E, ace, O-F of, S-P-A-D-E-S. Nope, that didn't work either. So tell you what I'm going to do. From having played poker for quite some time, I've got a decent feel for the cards. And I bet that if I just go through them, I can get a decent read on where your ace might be. At this point, the 3 magicians are just kind of looking at me because they don't know what I'm doing. And to be honest, at this point, I don't know what I'm doing. But we'll see. I keep going through the cards and feeling them and trying to coax it through. Because like I said, I've played a lot of poker. I've handled cards a good bit. And maybe, just maybe, if I feel through them, I might be able to get a hint of what I'm trying to find. Almost there. Yeah. I looked at the magicians. I think that I've been able to find your ace for you. And if I have, then it's right about there. But, like I said, I'm a poker player. I got to give myself a little something extra with that, too. So that is one of my favorite effects because it has a story woven through it. I'm going and doing magic, but at the same time, I don't have to stop and, okay, is this your card? Is this your card? This is a performative piece, and it's just me telling a story. So for this next effect, this is a much simpler story than that last one. This is a story of the 3 jacks, and these are 3 notorious heist masters. And they're searching for their greatest score, and that is obviously the ace of diamonds. So these are our characters that we're going to be using. We've got the jack of hearts, jack of spades, jack of clubs, and the ace of diamonds. Ace of diamonds representing the jewel, and the jacks representing the thieves. One more time, ace of diamonds is our jewel, jack of clubs is our first, Jack of spades is our second, and then the Jack of hearts. You know what, we'll actually leave him out. He's going to be our getaway driver. So, Jack of clubs, Jack of spades, and the ace of diamonds. The ace of diamonds, this beautiful diamond, has been hidden in the basement of our museum. Jack of clubs goes in first floor-ish to start looking for it. The Jack of spades goes in second floor-ish to keep looking for it. And they run in. They run all the way up, all the way down through the museum, trying to find this mystical jewel. But the alarms are going off. The police are on their way. Jack of hearts here, he's no slacker when it comes to getaway vehicles. He decides to go the helicopter route and lands on the roof. And immediately, up on the roof, runs the Jack of spades, the Jack of clubs, and it would be a shame if they didn't have with them their prize. For my last effect today, I'm going to show you guys an ancient and secret trick called, for some reason, the 3-coin trick. Haven't quite figured out why it's called that myself. So, to start off, we're going to do some very simple math. Set the third coin down. We're going to add 1 plus 1. I'm going to give you guys a minute to follow along at home. I know that it's been a while since you've been doing school, so you can process that 1 plus 1, and I think we all know that 1 plus 1 equals 2. So, the third coin is the magic coin. It's going to vanish from before your very eyes. Watch it very closely. And it's gone. Okay, now I can feel the rolling of the eyes through the Facebook, so we're just going to jump on. I know that you guys think that you saw me take the coin and reach down and put it in the pocket, and some of you very well might have. But I don't think anybody saw me take the coin and reach down and put it back in the hand so that it's got the 3 coins. Okay, now you guys know what we're looking for, so let's do it again. I'll just jump to the fun part. I really do have just the 2 coins right here. I want to make that very clear. I just have those 2. The third coin is the magic coin. It's going to go into the pocket just like you saw me do the first time. Now, once again, I can feel some of you through the Facebook. You're wondering where exactly, if anything's in this hand, but no, I've got it clean. I know. I can sense that. So we're going to ask again, what was that 1 plus 1? That equals 2, but again, it drops it into the 3 coins. I told you it's the 3-coin trick. I did warn you guys at the start of this. We're going to do this one last time. I really just have the 2. Like, I want it very clear that I just have the 2. As a matter of fact, right here I have none. And if you add 2 plus none, this is the high math now, but 2 plus none is 2. Take the third coin, it's the magic coin. It goes into the pocket with all the other magic coins. And now the question is, how many do I have right here? You guys think you got me, didn't you? 3 coins for the 3-coin trick? Well then, no more magic for you. My name is JJ, and I'm a magician here in the upstate. I've been doing magic for a long time, and now I'm working doing parties, doing city events, just a little bit of everything. If you ever need a magician, just drop me a message on Facebook, JJ Pearson. You can find me there, and we'll get something put together.
Hi everyone, I am Robin Byouk, the Greer Cultural Arts Supervisor for the City of Greer. So you just saw JJ do some great magic tricks, so now we're going to do some art tricks this afternoon. We're going to make this invisible writing turn really pretty with lots of watercolor paints. What you need is some thick paper, if you have some thick watercolor paper at home. If not, some thick paper will do. Some glue, clear glue, white glue, any brand. Salt, kosher salt or regular table salt will be fine. And I happen to have these little plastic lids laying around that you can use to catch your salt in. Some cups for water, and some watercolors and paintbrushes. We have our watercolor paper now, or a thick paper that will take watercolor. We're going to open the top of our glue, and we're going to squeeze out using it like a writing utensil. So now we're going to take the salt, And we're just going to sprinkle it across the top of the glue. This is really fun. This is the fun part. And it disappears. And then we're going to carefully shake off our salt. And here we go. We took our salt and glue and left it overnight to dry, or we put it out in the sun for a couple hours. Now we're going to make the words appear. Get a paintbrush, doesn't matter what kind, and get your favorite colors. I recommend 2 cups of water, one for your light colors and one for your dark colors so you don't get browns. So get your paintbrush wet and put it in your paint. And then we're going to just touch the paint to the salt, and it magically absorbs it. For our next project, we have this really amazing art trick. Look, the pencil's sticking through the bag and it's not even leaking. And I'm going to show you how to do this. And parents, don't worry, it's okay. I have an assortment of pencils. Make sure they are sharp before you start. And watch this. Look at that. And I'm going to take some in from the other side. I don't feel any water. You can show this to all your friends that you're a magician. Voila. Now, wasn't that fun? You're going to amaze all your friends. Okay, all you need is a basic Ziploc bag. Any brand will do. And some water. Okay, you're going to pour your water carefully into the bag. And you're going to seal it closed. That's it. And make sure your pencils are sharp, because when you poke through the bag, you need to have a nice point. There you go. That's how you do it. For our last craft this week, we're going to make slime. Everybody loves slime. To make slime, you're going to need 4 to 6 ounces of liquid all-purpose glue, Elmer's glue, washable glue, any kind. You're going to need half a teaspoon of Arm & Hammer baking soda, or any baking soda, 1.5 tablespoons of contact lens solution, saline solution, and food coloring to put some nice color in there. And if you want, you can also add some glitter. Okay, there's our glue, a whole bottle of glue in the bowl. In a separate cup, we are going to mix half a teaspoon of baking soda, 1.5 tablespoons of contact solution. And then we're going to put some food coloring in for color. And we're going to stir it up. So we're going to take our solution and we're going to pour it onto the glue. Okay, and we're going to mix it. It'll feel like nothing's happening, and then all of a sudden, it will become slime. Thank you for joining us today. I hope you enjoyed all of our art tricks, and parents, don't be too mad at us. It's so much fun. The kids are going to love doing all of these magic tricks. Stay tuned for next week's Tall Tales.